Story 1. The Secret Lives of Library Cats in Ancient Alexandria. Section 1. The Whispering Stacks and Feline Guardians. Imagine, if you will, a world where the sum total of human knowledge, meticulously penned on papyrus scrolls, was housed within a single, magnificent edifice. This was the Great Library of Alexandria, not merely a building but a beacon of scholarship, a vibrant intellectual hub that drew the finest minds from across the Hellenistic world. Its very air thick with the scent of aged papyrus and human ambition, hummed with the silent energy of countless scholars, philosophers, and poets. But in this hallowed, hushed environment, beneath the soaring ceilings and between the labyrinthine, if shelves there moved other, far less heralded, guardians, the cats of Alexandria. These weren't just any street cats, though their lineage undoubtedly stemmed from the ubiquitous feline population that had roamed Egypt for millennia. These were the library cats, an unsung, unofficial, yet utterly indispensable part of the institution's daily rhythm. Their presence was not a mere happenstance, but a practical necessity, a subtle purring shield against an insidious threat that could devour centuries of accumulated wisdom in a single night. The enemy, you see, was not fire, at least not initially. It was much smaller, far more numerous, and relentlessly hungry. Rodents. Ancient libraries, unlike their modern climate-controlled counterparts, were vulnerable. Papyrus, made from the pith of the papyrus plant, was an organic material, succulent and appealing to a variety of pests. Mice and rats, ever opportunistic, found these vast collections to be an all-you-can-eat buffet, their sharp incisors capable of gnawing through not just the binding cords but the precious texts themselves. A single rodent infestation could, over time, render entire sections illegible, erasing knowledge that had taken lifetimes to compile. The sheer volume of material stored within the Library of Alexandria, estimates range from 400,000 to 700,000. Scrolls at its peak made pest control a monumental, continuous challenge, and so, the cats, their introduction into the sacred halls of learning was likely not a grand formalized policy, but a quiet, organic development born of pragmatic necessity. Egypt, after all, was the cradle of cat domestication. For thousands of years prior to the library's founding in the 3rd century BCE, Egyptians had revered cats, associating them with the goddess Bastet and appreciating their prowess as pest hunters. Tomb paintings and statues abound with images of graceful felines, demonstrating their integral role in Egyptian households and granaries. It was only natural that these effective, silent hunters would find a new, crucial purpose within the intellectual granary of Alexandria. Imagine a typical day, as dawn broke over the bustling city, and the first scholars arrived, keys clinking. The cats would already be stirring from their chosen sleeping spots, perhaps curled on a forgotten pile of discarded papyrus scraps, or stretched languidly across a warm stone slab. Their sleek forms, ranging in color from ebony to tabby, would weave silently through the grand corridors, their keen senses already attuned to the slightest rustle or scamper. A flick of a tail, a twitch of an ear, and a silent pounce would dispatch another potential destroyer of knowledge. This wasn't merely a job for them, it was instinct honed over generations. The scholars, initially perhaps amused, then tolerant, and eventually appreciative, would have grown accustomed to their feline companions. A cat draped over a pile of reference scrolls, or batting playfully at a fallen fragment of text, would have been a common, comforting sight. These animals, unlike the scholars engrossed in their debates and decipherments, operated on a primal level, an untamed element within a highly structured environment. Yet their presence brought a curious form of peace, the peace of knowing that the written word was being protected, diligently and without complaint. The economic implications of a rodent infestation, though rarely discussed in historical texts, would have been substantial. Each scroll represented not just the intellectual output of an author, but the labor of scribes. The cost of papyrus, which was not cheap, being a major export commodity, and the expense of transportation from distant lands. To lose a single scroll was a setback. To lose hundreds, a disaster. The cats, by preventing such widespread destruction, were effectively saving the institution immense sums and invaluable intellectual property. They were the original low-cost, high-efficiency security system, powered by instinct and a love for chase. Their secret lives truly lay in their unsung status. No grand statues were erected in their honor within the library itself. No odes were penned to their hunting prowess. Yet, their silent patrols, their vigilant presence, were woven into the very fabric of the library's existence. They were integral, yet invisible, performing their duties without fanfare. They were the living, breathing, purring counterpoint to the scholarly pursuits, a constant reminder of the physical vulnerabilities of even the grandest intellectual endeavors. Consider the layout of the library. It wasn't just one room. There were reading rooms, lecture halls, dining areas, and perhaps most importantly, vast storage areas, the bibliothèque, where scrolls were kept in pigeonholes or on shelves. These areas, often dimly lit, provided ample nooks and crannies for rodents to hide and breed. A scholar might spend hours meticulously comparing texts, utterly absorbed in their work, while just feet away, a cat might be engaged in a silent, deadly ballet, stalking its prey through the shadows of ancient wisdom. The two worlds, intellectual and primal, coexisted in a delicate, necessary balance. The precise number of cats living within the library walls remains a delightful historical mystery. Was it a handful of elite hunters, or a sprawling colony, constantly replenished? It's likely that a core group resided permanently, perhaps fed by the staff, while others might have wandered in from the city. Drawn by the promise of easy prey, their lives would have been simple: hunt, sleep, eat, and occasionally tolerate the gentle scratch behind the ears from a grateful scholar. They would have seen generations of students pass through, witnessed countless debates, and perhaps even curled up at the feet of great thinkers like Euclid or Eratosthenes, oblivious to the profound equations and calculations. Unfolding above their heads, their silent contribution ensured that the knowledge contained within those papyrus rolls could endure for centuries, allowing the great minds of antiquity to build upon the work of those who came before. Without them, how much more wisdom might have been lost to the gnawing teeth of rodents? It is a fascinating thought that the preservation of so much human ingenuity hinged, in part, on the simple, effective instincts of a creature whose primary concern was a good meal and a warm sunbeam. But as the centuries wore on, and the political landscape of Alexandria shifted, new challenges arose for the library. The constant vigilance of the feline guardians could protect against mice. But what about the slow, insidious decay of papyrus over time, or the more dramatic threat of human conflict? And what eventually became of these quiet protectors as the glory of the library itself began to wane?